Hallelujah, right? Clients can use health savings accounts for personal training as long as you meet the requirements for their medical-based training and maintain your qualifications. The time is finally here. I'm Deborah Atkinson. You're listening to She Means Fitness Business, and this one is a doozy, so hold on. This podcast is normally about marketing and sales strategies that are easy, enjoyable, and fun. Anything but sleazy, salesy, and pushy, so you can build a business and a life you love, full of integrity, feeling good about the message, and creating that message that feels good for your ideal future customers. In this episode, this is really getting down to the how and why to build your business and how and why to really grow you and your business and your niche. This episode is a special fitness and health coach only podcast, and I'll link to the one announcing to my Flipping 50 audience at large how they can begin using health savings accounts and health savings accounts for personal training or their flex benefits accounts. So not to repeat myself there, you're going to have questions. I absolutely know it. And we're going to try and answer as many as we possibly can on the episode, knowing what you will ask. But I want to be sure that you go to the show notes today. That's going to be super helpful for you. And you'll find the links where you can learn more, where you can get started today. Even if you don't yet have the education to be qualified, you can get started in learning about that special medical case that you want to begin working with. And that would be a wise decision. So you're in action right away. So I brought the heavy lifter herself in to talk about this. It is a third step in her changing the face of the fitness industry and deepening the knowledge and education in trainers so that customers have the most optimal care. To hear that full-length episode and share it potentially with your customers, because it will tell them and give them insights about the fitness industry and about you, listener, as somebody who cares more, gets more education, goes deep, not superficially, in what it is you provide. You're going to want them to hear it because it will elevate you. And isn't that the best, ultimately? You're giving them more of what they really want and deserve. And it just happens to be you. All right. I can't wait to dive into this episode with Lisa. Here we go. Lisa, welcome. Actually, I should say welcome back. You're a favorite here.
Thank you, Deborah. Nice to be.
And, it's amazing what you've done for the fitness industry. We recently had Sarah Cooperman on. We've had Janice Jakes on. But you're, I think, maybe raising to the top because you've made some real earth-shattering, groundbreaking advances for all of us. Fitness professionals, health coaches, no matter what you are, listening or want to be. So I think we should, before we dive into questions, do a little rehash and tell your story. Like what even pushed you into this from being a trainer yourself, and kind of paint the picture of where were you, what were you doing, and when you got started, then why this? Why did you shift to a bigger picture?
Right. So about 4 years ago, I changed careers. I was in the securities industry, stocks and bonds, very stressful. And I had the opportunity to go back to school, UC Irvine. My dad was battling his second cancer, and I knew I wanted to help people, but not with their money. That was very stressful. I spent 14 years doing that, and I always loved fitness. So what was really great about this 2-year fitness instructor program, it's a teaching medical university. So I was immersed in medicine, learning fitness, and mid-30s, I'm 58 now. I wanted to come out and help cancer survivors in honor of my dad. And so I started Whole Body Fitness. And what I found, in addition to cancer survivors, there was a pile of other people that had osteoporosis, fibromyalgia, diabetes, Parkinson's, MS, prenatal, autism, and then there was no trainers. So the following 3 years after my 2-year program, I went on to take a bunch of specialist certificate courses from a company that's no longer in business, and I became a chronic disease and exercise specialist. There was really no one. I think I was the first 12 in the United States that went through all 15 programs. I started whole body fitness before there was an internet. If there was any of you on this listening, if you remember those times, I put flyers on car windshields to say whole body fitness personal training. Anyways, the internet came out. I had a strong business background, and I had a lot of information on my website on whatever condition and exercise. And back then there was no WebMD or Johns Hopkins University, and SEO really mattered. So whole body fitness, I was number one on Google. If you Googled cancer and exercise, it was whole body fitness back then. And I was getting emails from all over the United States asking if there was someone like me near them. You know, my daughter has diabetes. We live in Washington, D.C. Do you know of anybody? My mom's a cancer survivor. We live in Seattle. Do you know of anybody? And our industry wasn't of such that, yeah, I know Barbara in Washington, D.C., and I know she has diabetes programs for teenagers. And still to this day, I can't say that I know that. And so I've always been a problem solver. And something, wow, people want help and they're not finding anybody. And so I used to call a company where I took all these courses and I'd say, hey, did you sell a diabetes course? I have a lead for somebody, you know, or a cancer course. I have a lead. And after doing that for several years, they'd laugh when I called. And I said, tell these people to build websites. Tell them to put on there that they've taken this education. I said, no one's finding them. So I knew there was a problem. I went back to UC Irvine and I decided, well, you know, I'm going to start the MedFit Network. I'm going to do a kind of like an Angie's List of anybody who has any services or programs for all those conditions that I mentioned and more. And this was all volunteer driven. I never did this because I, wanted to make money. I just was trying to solve a problem. So we built the MedFit Network. It was like a 2-year project. I used the computer science department at UC Irvine, the students for the business plan. We launched the MedFit Network. I partnered with about 100 companies in the fitness industry because I didn't know how to get the word out that we existed. And, everything was free. It was free to join, free to advertise. Again, I did this to solve a problem. Over a few years, 2016, we grew the registry to about 30,000 professionals. I was featured in the Huffington Post, Why You Should Know Lisa Doherty in Medical Fitness. My dad was on his 4th cancer at the time, and he kept saying, oh, you're going to be on 20/20 or 60 Minutes for building the MedFit Network. And I would say, I'm shy. I don't want to be on TV, and that's not why I did this. And a week after my dad died, I got a email from the White House, and I was acknowledged as a Champion of Change finalist in 2016 by the Obama administration for the MedFit Network. So that got me a lot of attention, as you can imagine. And what I discovered while building this project was that there wasn't enough educated professionals to be on the network to like service all metropolitan areas in the United States and cities and so forth. And for those of us on it, including me, there was no relevant continued education. All those courses I took, 20 years ago, I took a fibromyalgia course and that was it. There was no continued education to work with people with fibromyalgia. It was all one and done. So I saw another problem that we needed to solve, and I started the MedFit Education Foundation. It's a not-for-profit. I've been acting like a not-for-profit. And by the way, I've donated my time to this project over the last 9 years. And we started the MedFit Education Foundation, and the first thing I did was weekly webinars. I mean, everybody does webinars now since COVID, but we've been doing them for 5 years. They're free for anybody part of this network. And I started some conferences. We did 8 conferences in 2 years. We called it the Medical Fitness Tour, kind of like a rock star tour coming to a city near you. And after 8 conferences in 2 years, I told my team I was burned out. I didn't want to do any more conferences. COVID hit. So how fortuitous was that we didn't have any events?
So it was your fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, my team's like, well, if we're not going to do conferences, what are we going to do? And I said, you know what? I want to recreate that education that I took, 20 years ago. And I want to make it more relevant and, have interviews with the populations and business programming and so forth. And COVID hit. And I spent 2020 identifying, subject matter experts to author 30 online medical fitness courses. Most of them are done. I think we're got like 5 or 6 left to go. These courses are a minimum of 10 hours, all the way up to 20. To get a specialist certificate in the fitness industry, you need 10 hours on a topic. So these courses are a minimum of 10 hours. What's unique about all these courses, they're not one and done. Nope, you can't become a Parkinson's disease fitness specialist and keep that on your resume for 26 years. You got to do relevant, continued education to work with people with Parkinson's or stroke or osteoporosis or menopause. What's latest on my plate and why I'm here today is MedFit Care. Do you want me to go into that, Deborah, or do you have any questions, comments, or should I slide into that?
Well, I have comments, and that is, I think you just heard a great example of you just have to dig in. And when you have a purpose, that gets you up in the morning, even if you're not getting paid to do it, it's worth moving it forward. It's a mission. So I love that you've really outlined that. But I think, yes, let's dive into the MedFit Care, because this is going to provide a tremendous opportunity, both for all of the clients you serve or will serve in the future and for you.
So this is where I see the evolution of our industry going. And certainly, past this pandemic, we're still facing a chronic disease, opioid, mental health, obesity crisis. I think people are more interested in their health than ever before. And so I think this is a great opportunity for the fitness professional, to step in this place and get educated. And with MedFit Care, it's a telehealth division of this project. Where we're going to issue medically necessary exercise prescriptions to trainers that have gone through these courses that are part of the MedFit network. Or if it's a public person, send them with the prescription to the person with the right education on the MedFit network. So what can you do with a medically necessary exercise prescription? Your client or member, if you have a studio or a gym, they could use HSA or FSA dollars to pay for personal training. Usually gym memberships covered under HSA and FSA, but not personal training. It has to be medically necessary. So what's HSA? Health Savings Account. That's where people put pre-tax dollars every year. And FSA is a flexible spending account that's usually employer matched. And if you don't use it, you lose it. So now people could use that for personal training if they get an exercise prescription. And what everybody can do with this now is write off their personal training on their income tax as a medical expense. So to me, that is super exciting. In order to write off medical expenses, it has to be 7.5% of your adjusted gross income. Most people don't accumulate enough, and that's dental and optical and medical and so forth. But now if you could throw in your personal training, wow, now you could write it off, all those things and the training as a medical expense. So we're super excited about this. We've wanted this as an industry for decades to be part of the healthcare team. And now with MedFit Care and us to be able to receive exercise prescriptions, we're not billing insurance. We're not doing anything with insurance. We're not licensed. But we can do HSA, FSA, and write it off on your taxes.
Fantastic. Okay, so let me ask a couple housekeeping kinds of questions. What does a trainer have to do to maintain their ability to accept HSA?
Great question. Well, first of all, trainer needs to join the MedFit network. The MedFit network is a public registry where you have your profile page, your photo, your college degree, your nationally recognized certification, and your professional liability insurance. Deborah and I were talking before this podcast that Lloyd's of London is insuring MedFit Care. So that was the toughest part for me, was to get malpractice insurance for these exercise prescriptions. So they're only going to cover trainers that have a MedFit Network public profile with a picture and all that information I just said. And they have to have taken the appropriate course for whatever prescription that they are supplying their client with or accepting from the public. So if they have someone with arthritis, they got to take the arthritis course. If they're working with someone through menopause, they got to take the menopause course.
Perfect. Love it.
Relevant continued education.
Yeah.
To continue to receive those prescriptions. So what we do, we set the bar, I want to say we set it low. You got to do 10 hours of relevant continued education. That means you can't take a TRX class or read an article in a magazine or whatever. It has to be on whatever condition that you're specializing in. 10 hours every 2 years. I don't think that's a lot. And when you're a member of the MedFit Network, my foundation is going to offset that cost so it's free. So when you're a member of the MedFit Network, you get free, relevant, continued education to keep your specialist certificates. Why are we doing that? Because we want a public registry. We want to keep you educated. We want you to help people. That's why I started this project. So there's no renewal fees on your specialist certificates. As long as you're a member of the MedFit Network, that's free as well.
That's pretty darn amazing. And the reason why is she wants to level up the industry. She wants to level up you and me and her and all of it, so our consumer population has better choices. Loving it. All right. So I'm just going to ask silly questions potentially, but how will the payment be collected?
For the
for the training, if someone has gotten that medical prescription and they're working with a trainer who's qualified, will collection of payment be any different for them?
I think most people I don't have an FSA, but I have an HSA and I have a debit card. Mm-hmm. So I would use my debit card to pay for my trainer. I don't know if FSA accounts have debit cards, but your client should know if they have a credit or debit card or they write you a check or whatever. But they would turn in the prescription to their whoever holds their HSA or FSA. By the way, these prescriptions, and I don't know if this is one of your questions you're going to ask me, will cost your client $199. These prescriptions will mostly be good for 12 months. So $199, they meet with a doctor. We're pretty sure that they'll be able to turn the $199 bill in to their insurance as a out-of-network provider cost to get the prescription or apply towards their deductible. So they have to pay the $199. They get the prescription. It hopes it'll be good for 12 months unless they have some debilitating condition where the doctor wants to monitor them. But our goal is to make this easy. Okay. Yeah. We make this easy. If we can give your client a 12-month, that's what we want to do. So know that. Next question.
Yes. Well, and thank you for suggesting I ask that question and asking it for me. In addition to giving the answer. So on this question, will this apply to trainers or coaches who are offering online programs, memberships, and virtual and live coaching?
Yep. As long as they have a public profile page that Lloyd's of London can see their credentials, they could do virtual training. Yep.
Got it. Okay. Now I'm going to ask you one more time. Is there a question I should have asked you? I think we've really filled them in on the background, on the why, how you got here, why you felt the need to do it and did it, what trainers need to know, what they'll want to tell their potential clients that they'll want to know, that, here's how you'll get started, here's the fee, here's how long that'll last, and they know how to be qualified and stay credible and qualified to continue doing so. I love what we've covered. Have we missed anything, you think?
Well, I'm going to say two things. One being that $199 fee. I know some fitness professionals that are actually going to pay the fee for their client, and they're going to bundle it into and they're going to use it for marketing. They're going to say they're a MedFit Care provider. And when you buy a 20-session package with me, it includes a telehealth visit with MedFit Care. That $199 fee, they're going to pay for their clients to do it. So they're going to use it as a marketing thing. And then secondly, what I want to just say to all the listeners is like why this space is important. 6 out of 10 people have a chronic disease. 50% have 2 or more. 20% of the people in the United States have 5 or more chronic diseases. I think 70% are obese. You cannot not work with somebody that has something. You just can't.
Yeah.
And so not having the education, you could potentially hurt someone. And also I want to say it's not about glutes and abs anymore. Everybody's like fighting for the 15% of the nearly fit population. And you know how I've been successful, and you and I talked about this before the webinar, is having those niche markets, being a specialist, a stroke recovery fitness specialist, a cardiac rehab fitness specialist. That's what's going to really differentiate you. That's what differentiated me, was all this education. And there's not enough trainers serving these markets. And it's just so easy for you to step in your community and promote yourself, whether it's to a hospital, which I've gone and done, the cardiac rehab, that I can take the baton after that. I've approached physical therapists and, let them know, here's my education. I think it's really important to let these people know your education because they don't think much of our industry. I mean, I hate to say it, there's no barrier to entry. Anybody can call themselves a personal trainer. And so be prepared to share with a physical therapist, a doctor, a cardiac rehab, orthopedic physician, surgeon, your education. And that's what's going to separate you and get a flow of referrals and patients. This has the largest growth potential in our industry is this medical fitness space. It's only going to grow. It's not going to shrink. And to be a pioneer and lead it and position yourself in the community and start getting, I've built my whole business on referrals. You work with one person that has this. They want everybody to work with you. So I would step into the space, get educated, and be part of the healthcare continuum. That is the future of our industry.
Amen. Beautifully said. Love it. Let's mention the best place for fitness pros to go and learn more, to get signed up, to join the forums and be a part of the conversation.
Well, the best place, I would say, join the MedFit Network and get your public profile page up, whether you have the proper education. That can come second. So medfitnetwork.org /welcome, but you'll see on there fitness professionals join. And when you're a member of the MedFit Network, you get a 25% discount on any of the education. And as a member of the MedFit Network, my foundation is going to give you free relevant continued education to keep your specialist certificate, free renewals, and you'll be a MedFit Care provider. So I would say start there, even if you don't have the education, and start taking the education. We have a private Facebook forum, MedFit Network is the name of it. I think you'll show a link to it, where we give you the latest updates on, courses, webinars. We have a medical fitness conference coming up in March of 2023 in Los Angeles. If you're interested in this space, it's going to be limited seating, doctors and fitness professionals getting together. You want to attend this event.
Fantastic. Yes. So listeners, if you're walking, you're lifting, you're fitting it in on a commute, we've got you covered. The links will be in the show notes, and the show notes will be at fitnessmarketingmastery.com/HSA for personal training. And by the way, I will also put the link to the full episode that Lisa and I did at Flipping 50, because I think you as a trainer health coach would also want to listen to that and hear what we said to our consumers. And of course, we all are on some level. We are that too, right?
Yes.
Lisa, thank you again for being here.
Thank you so much for letting me share all this with your listeners. I appreciate it.
It's so very exciting.
Yes.
All right, listeners, what are you waiting for? The world needs you right now more than ever, and we're actually trying to make it easier than ever for them to get the quality in you that they need.